What is going on, GBA fans? My name is Berk, and today I'll be bringing you the Week 4 Pick'em crew for the GBA Season 7. Now, unlike the past few weeks, unfortunately, I'm here by myself. Matty is very busy with college stuff, midterms, and whatnot, so he was unable to record this week, but you still got me, and I know that's not quite the consolation prize you were looking for, but you'll have to deal with it. So anyway, Week 3, as you can see on the screen, we did much better this week. In fact, everyone going at least neutral or better, except Bill. Of course, it's Bill. You can't really expect much of this week, but I know I'm doing a little bit better. We also need to be able to pick the matches a little bit better as well. So with that, let's move into Week 4, and the first battle we have for Week 4 is the Free State Toracats versus the San Francisco Arcaniners. This is my lock for the San Francisco Arcaniners. Most of us picking George over Duncan. A few of us picking Duncan. We'll see if that works out for him. But the reason I picked George is, as always, a fantastic, absolutely fantastic league format player. And so I have a lot of confidence that George can win this match. You look at team matchups, George does kind of struggle with Weavile. You know, it threatens some of his biggest threats, the Mew, the Garchomp. But George does have appropriate responses to pretty much all of Duncan's offense, because Weavile, he does have Registeel. Landorus T, Mew actually takes it on pretty dang well. So I feel like if George plans as well as he does normally, I feel like George will be able to pull out the win this week. For the second battle of the week, we have the St. Louis Rampardos versus the Pittsburgh Piratas. Most of us choosing the St. Louis Rampardos to win over Tup. The reason I picked the St. Louis Rampardos is, unfortunately, Tup has really been struggling this season to actually win his games. We saw in Week 3, he was not playing at the level that he was playing last season, and I feel like that's going to really hurt him this week as well. Dan is starting to pick it up. Last week, picking up his first win, and I feel like he's going to try to carry that back into the second week just to make sure that he can stay with the other coaches. I feel like Tup is going to lose Week 4. Team matchup wise, Tup is going to struggle with quite a few things on Dan's team. Victini just pops to mind as something that Tup really doesn't have an answer for. It's Victini. I understand not many teams actually have an answer for it, but Victini, just the right set, like a mixed life orb, actually can almost guaranteed super effective hit on everything on Tup's team, or just kind of blow it back. Tup is going to have I feel like a hard time breaking through things like Clefable Toxapex core, but I feel like Dan has just the superior offensive matchup. He's going to be able to take the victory. The next match we have is the Philadelphia Scizors versus the Borusa Donphan. And again, most of us picking the Philadelphia Scizors over the Borusa Donphan. One of the reasons I picked Chimp to win this battle is, for one, I feel like he's been playing better after Week 1 than Lars has. Lars picked up a really nice Week 1 victory, but unfortunately hasn't been able to maintain any sort of momentum going into future weeks. He lost Week 1, but after that has been on a 2-game win streak, and I feel like he can continue the momentum into Week 4. The Philadelphia Scizors just have this crazy offensive matchup against pretty much any team. So yeah, Lars is obviously going to have a problem dealing with things like Kyurem Black, Thundurus, Azumarill, Volcanion, because I think that Chimpact has a really good answer to things like Magearna in Volcanion, and then for like Latias, he's got Azumarill and, Kyurem Black, which can kill it. So if Chimpact can break through the core of Magearna Latias, I feel like he will be able to take this match, and he just has this absolutely crazy offensive matchup against any team, including Lars. And with his momentum going into Week 4, whereas Lars is kind of struggling a little bit to get a foothold back into the season, I feel like Chimpact is going to be able to take the victory over the Borusa Donphan. Up next, we have the Florida Gators versus the Tampa Bay Luxrays. And most of us have the Tampa Bay Luxrays picked. Mono currently is the best team in the league after 3 weeks. I know it is only 3 weeks, but Mono has always consistently been a great league format player, one of the best. And Gator not doing so well right now into the season. Gator, I feel, is going to struggle with a lot of Mono's team. I don't think he's got the best answers to things such as Jirachi. I know like there's Heatran and Mamoswine, but Mamoswine is sort of an offensive check. Kinda. Heatran, Mono's a crafty enough player to make sure that Heatran's not a problem for the Jirachi. And then you add in things like Buzzwole and Zygarde and even Torrent Greninja, because Torrent Greninja, it outspeeds the entirety of Gator's team and can pretty much carry super effective coverage for most things. And then he's just got this really nice defensive core, which Gator does have wall breakers, but I don't feel like they're going to be able to break through. So I feel like Mono is going to be able to take the Week 4 victory. Then we have the Detroit Steelings versus the Milwaukee Sawsbucks, and everyone but Nick has the Detroit Steelings picked. And I think for good reason. Crimson has been playing really well. I know he's 1-2 at this point, but he did get a 6-0 victory week 2, and he's only lost, I think, 1-0 in week 3 and 1-0 in week 1. He's been able to keep up a lot with all the competitors, and Steve, although he's also 1-2, his week 1 victory wasn't a sound victory, and then week 2 and 3, he hasn't been playing terribly well. Crimson, I know, has been planning very well, and he's been playing just as well and much better than previous seasons. Plus, he has definitely a good matchup against Steve's team. I feel like most teams have a decent matchup against Steve's team. I think Crimson has the matchup, as well as I think he's just been playing better this season than Steve. So I'm going to give the victory to the Detroit Steelings. Our next match is the San Francisco Giants versus the San Diego Chimchargers. And all of us have the San Diego Chimchargers picked except for Spastic going with the San Francisco Giants. Envy, just like I feel like Chimp, they struggle a little bit week 1, but after that, I think he's really picked up his play, especially last week picking up a really, really nice victory over the Milwaukee Sawsbucks. Geo has really been struggling this season. His team, I think he feels, is not as solid as he thought it was. He hasn't really been able to, aside from week 1 getting a narrow victory, he's lost 6-0 and then he's lost 4-0. I just don't really see Geo being able to pull out a win this week. Plus, I feel like Geo does not deal well with quite a few of the offensive threats. Magnezone, for instance, is a massive, massive problem for Geo's team because the dual stab hits almost in his entire team for neutral or better, and then you pair it up with Hidden Power Fire. It will hit even the Heliolisk super effectively because I feel like you bring Dry Skin Heliolisk to deal with the possible rain team that MV can bring. Geo, even though he has now Rhyperior, he still has quite a bit of an electric weakness, and one of his other electric resistance, being the Ferrothorn, is not going to want to switch into Magnezone and get trapped, which is not something you normally want. Yes, it can be Shed Shell Ferrothorn, but still, Magnezone looking to be a massive, massive, massive threat to Geo's team. So I am going to give the match to MV and the San Diego Chimchargers. Up next, we've got the Utah Jasmine versus the New Orleans Pelipers. This being the last match, unfortunately, for the Utah Jasmine in the GBA. And he's playing against a very, very strong competitor in the New Orleans Pelipers. Most people are going with John. I am breaking with everyone else, and I'm going with the Utah Jasmine. Team matchup wise, I don't really see either having a massive edge over the other. I feel like Cooper lost a lot of offensive presence when he dropped our Manitan, but he does have a really good answer to Tapu Bulu. He does have really good answers to Infernape. So as long as he can keep those in check and then make sure that Sneasel doesn't become too much of a problem, especially when you got things like Manaphy that can easily take on Sneasel and Klefki. Let's not forget Klefki. So Cooper does actually have a decent matchup against John's team. Plus, I feel like Cooper, this being his last match, he's going to want to go out with a win. So I am going to give it to Cooper and the Utah Jasmine. And the last match of week 4, we have the San Jose Sharpedos versus the Alola Athletic. And as you can see, I'm picking the San Jose Sharpedos again, and we are fairly split on this match. 4 going for the San Jose Sharpedos and 7 going for the Alola Athletic. To me, this seems like a relatively even matchup on both sides. Tom has actually quite a few decent offensive threats for Callum's team. One of them being the Hitmonlee, because Callum, by facet of having Excadrill and Tyranitar, has a decent fighting weakness on the team, and Hitmonlee can easily check Excadrill and Tyranitar with Mach Punch. So he's going to have to deal with that. I get there's a Crobat, and I get there's a Sableye, but still, it's not the easiest thing to switch into, because Life Orb knockoff does do quite a bit of damage to Crobat, and deals quite a bit of damage to Sableye. And then you look at Celesteela. Celesteela, also with the correct set, it has enough coverage to hit pretty much everything on Callum's team. So if he uses Celesteela well, and he uses something like Hitmonlee well, I feel like Tom can pull out the victory. However, you look at Callum's team, again, big threats to Tom's team. Emboar just looking like this gigantic threat, because honestly, Vaporeon is not a good counter to Emboar. And Emboar's Flare Blitz, if it's Choice Banded, could still possibly 2-KO Vaporeon, and it also gets Wild Charge, so if it's Life Orb, then the Life Orb Wild Charge, it does take out the Vaporeon. It is slow, so it can be checked offensively, but still, it's an Emboar, and Tom's team does not have the best equipment to take on fire types. Sandrill, if left unchecked, like if Celesteela is able to go down, Sandrill is quite a big threat against Tom's team. So I feel like this is either team's game, but I am going to give it to Tom and the San Jose Sharpedos. So that is going to wrap up the Week 4 Pick'em crew for the GBA Season 7. As always, leave your picks down in the comments section below. Let us know what your locks are. Let us know who you're picking. And with that, I will see you all next time.